Hey, I'm Becca with the Happy Ever Crafter, and this year, just in time for Thanksgiving, Michaels gave me a gift card, isn't that the dream, and let me loose in their store with no rules. Just a challenge to make it with Michaels and get inspired for a Thanksgiving craft. This is my way of telling you that this video is sponsored by Michaels, but I gotta say, what I decided to make is super, super cute, and I wanted to walk you through it here because I think you might want to make it too. So I honestly had no idea what I was gonna make. I just needed to make a Thanksgiving craft, but I figured I would just go walk around Michael's, obviously with a pumpkin spice latte, and get inspired, as I always do, to start a new creative project. Plus, I knew they would obviously have all the tools I needed once I decided what I was gonna make. So after going through the aisles and just brainstorming, I came home with these items. I got a bunch of these little mini white pumpkins. They're just made of foam, but they look like the real ones. And I got a bunch of the same thing in orange. So I have orange pumpkins and white pumpkins. Then I saw this gold paint that I've never seen before. I literally, this was on an end cap of an aisle, and I just felt really inspired by it because it looks really, it's hard to tell in the video, but it's like a really shiny, pretty gold. It's drizzle paint, and it's fluid pouring acrylic paint. So I thought, I could do something fun with this. Next, I grabbed some of these Craft Smart oil-based paint pens. I've used these before. They work really well on surfaces like this, and I know that the extra fine tip is perfect for what I'm gonna need because these are pretty small. And then lastly, I grabbed some Floral Foam. So this is just like a brick of that really satisfying squishy foam that you can use. And I knew that I was gonna need to dry these, which you'll see in a second. So I got this, and I'll show you exactly how I use it. A couple other things I grabbed just that I had at home that I didn't need to buy at Michael's. I had some toothpicks and a pencil. So that's everything you're gonna need if you wanna make this craft alongside me. Okay, so my idea is to turn these pumpkins into place cards for my Thanksgiving dinner table. So let's go step by step through exactly how I'm gonna make these. The first thing I'm doing is I've grabbed this container that I had, and you can use whatever you have, and I'm just pouring some of the gold paint in here, enough that there's about an inch in the bottom of it so that I can just dip my pumpkins right in. So I've put a lot of paint in here, and I know this might feel wasteful, but once you're done, you can just open your container back up and pour it back in if you didn't need it all. I also have a top for this container, so I can keep the paint afterwards. So I'm just pouring in some paint, making sure that I have enough here in the bottom, and then I'm going to prepare my floral foam, because basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dip my pumpkin in and put a little bit of gold, maybe about halfway up, maybe a little less, and then I'm going to use the floral foam to dry them. So I'm gonna just grab my floral foam and have it here. I'm actually not even gonna take it out of the plastic because I can just stab right through it, and I like that it's in a big block like this. These are all individual pieces, so I don't wanna take the plastic apart. So I've got my paint, I have my floral foam, and then I'm gonna grab my toothpicks, and basically all I'm doing is I'm gonna dip my pumpkin in and get the coverage that I want on the bottom of it. You might have to play with it a little bit, kind of tilt it, twirl it a bit. This can definitely get messy, so make sure that you have paper towel nearby, or you're not wearing clothes that you don't want to get any paint on. You could also brush this on if you wanted to. It just might take a little longer, and it might not be quite as even. So you can see that I got some marks on there that I'll have to get rid of. But you can see that it's covering, about a quarter of the way up. I think I want a little bit more than that. So I'm gonna dip it back in and just tilt it more so I can get more even coverage on the whole thing. And I'm just spinning my pumpkin around so that I get even amounts of paint on each side. And then I'll lift it back out. And now I've got more like half covered. And it perfectly covered up those little smudges that I had, so it worked out. Okay, so I'm happy with this. I'm just gonna kind of hold it here and let any of the excess drip off the bottom because there's a lot of paint on here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stab, because these are made of foam, they're pretty easy to stab through. So I'm gonna stab my toothpick through the bottom. I say it's easy and then it's not. Okay, there we go. So I've stabbed my toothpick through the bottom, and I'm gonna take this and stab it into my floral foam. So this is gonna hold it up to dry. You can see how it's held here. And any drips are gonna just drip right onto the floral foam, onto the plastic here. Instead of dripping onto my table, I don't have to put them down so that the bottom is not touching anything. And this is the perfect way to let it dry. So I'm gonna do this exact same thing with all of the pumpkins that I bought, well, as many as I need for my place cards, I'm gonna do some orange and some white. So let me show you what an orange one will look like. It's totally personal preference. You could do just white, you could do just orange, you could do whatever you want, really. I like having a combination of both on my table. So I'm doing a bit of both. You can see how the gold looks on the orange here. And again, I'll just stab my toothpick through the bottom and pop it into the floral foam to dry. This one's already dripping onto the floral foam, which is totally fine. That's what it's meant for. So basically this is what you're gonna have on your drying rack. So just go ahead and do all of your pumpkins this way. And then it might take a couple hours, or even you might wanna leave it overnight so that it's fully dry. Okay, so I left these overnight and now they are super dry. Basically, just make sure they're dry to the touch, because now we're gonna start writing over top of them and that's gonna get messy if they're not completely dry. So I'm gonna take the toothpick out of them, and then I'm gonna show you how to write your names on them to make your place cards. Okay, so once you've got all your pumpkins all set, basically you're gonna grab your pencil, and you wanna make sure that you do this in a really light pencil line, because if you mess it up, it can be hard to take it off of the paint or off of the actual pumpkin surface. So just do it really lightly. If you need to, have an eraser nearby as well. That might be a smart idea. So I have a list of the names that I need to create for my place cards, but you can just make a list on the side of yours. The first name I'm going to do is Julie. And so I'm just going to basically write my name over half the white and half the gold. I actually really love the way that it looks when I overlap gold on gold. These are slightly different golds, so you can definitely see the name still. And it gives it like a really cool texture to put gold over top of gold. So I'm going to do half on the white and half on the gold. And I'm basically just writing really lightly with my pencil and creating myself an outline. If you're really comfortable with writing or calligraphy, you could do this without an outline, but highly recommended to do it this way if you're not like a professional. So I've got my name here really lightly in pencil. I don't know if you can even see that on the video. And then I'm going to go over it with my paint marker. So I'm using the Craft Smart Extra Fine Tip. If you wanted, you could also use the fine tip. It's totally up to you. I think that this is going to work really nicely for the size of pumpkin, but if you happen to have something bigger, that's fine too. You can use whatever size tip you're more comfortable with. And basically I've already shaken this and pumped it so that my ink is running. If it's a brand new pen, you're going to have to do that for a while to get the ink running. The instructions are right on the pen though. And I'm just going to go ahead and trace over my word. Now, I'm just going to do a monoline calligraphy for this. I love the way it looks. I think it's really simple. If you wanted to do faux calligraphy, what I recommend is that you're thickening your lines as you go. And if you don't know what faux calligraphy means, I have a video about it. You can go and watch that as well. But for me, I'm just going to do a monoline calligraphy for these this time. And the bumps on the pumpkin make it a little tricky sometimes, but if you just take your time, should be good. All right, there you have it. Hopefully you can see how you can still see the gold pen over top of the gold pumpkin. So it's pretty subtle, but I think it's really beautiful. So that's what it looks like on the white and gold pumpkin. Now I'm going to try it on an orange one. All right, so exact same thing. I'm going to start with my pencil and I'm going to write out my name just enough that I can see it. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my paint pen. And there we go. That's what it looks like on the orange pumpkin. So a little bit of a different effect, but I love them both. I think they're both really pretty. So I'm gonna do some on white, some on orange, and I think they're both gonna look really nice on my table. So that's the gist of what you need to do. Now I'm just going to sort of keep powering through the rest of my pumpkins here. And I think I'm actually gonna skip the pencil step. I'm just gonna jump right on with my pen because I'm pretty comfortable. But yeah, let's just go through and do the rest of them. Okay, there we go. I've got all of the names done for the place cards at my Thanksgiving dinner. And that's it. I have my cute little pumpkins ready for my Thanksgiving table. I am so genuinely curious. Do you prefer the white ones or the orange ones in the end? Because I cannot decide, and I'm gonna do a mix of both, but I'm curious what you think. So tell me in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I would love to see it if you give it a try. So make sure to tag me at the Happy Ever Crafter. And again, if you use the hashtag #MakeItWithMichaels, Michaels will be able to see your work as well. Huge thanks to Michaels for the creative inspiration this Thanksgiving. I had a ton of fun with this.